Here's another video about commands, but this one's about Nosotros commands. Affirmative Nosotros commands are used to tell a group of people what to do. What makes them different is that the speaker, the person giving the command, is part of that same group. In English, we use the word let's, very similarly to the way Nosotros commands are used in Spanish. These are the steps to forming an affirmative Nosotros command. They should look very familiar by now. You start with the yo form in the present tense. Then you drop the o. And then you add the opposite ending. The opposite ending for AR verbs is hemos, and the opposite ending for ER verbs and IR verbs is amos. And that's all there is to it. Here's an example with the word vivir. We start with yo in the present tense, which is vivo. Then we take away the o to get viv, and we add the opposite ending. Vivir is an IR verb, so the ending is amos. And the final affirmative nosotros command is vivamos, which is let's live. Here's another example with the verb parar. The yo form in the present tense is paro. We take away the o to get par, and then we add the opposite ending. Since parar is an AR verb, we put hemos, so that the final nosotros command is paremos, which is let's stop. Pronouns in the affirmative nosotros form are just like the pronouns in affirmative tu and affirmative usted. You attach the pronoun to the end of the command. And remember to put an accent on the third to last syllable. That's the syllable right before the mos. Here are some examples. Comprémoslos. I have los at the end of the command, and I have an accent over the e right before mos. Sirvámosla. And digámosmelo. Remember that if you have an indirect object pronoun and a direct object pronoun, the indirect object pronoun comes first. Affirmative nosotros commands are a little bit different when you have a reflexive verb. There's a few steps that you need to follow. The first step is to change the se to nos, just like any other reflexive verb. But then you put the nos at the end of the command, and you remove the s after mos. Let me show you what that looks like. Here's the word hablar in the affirmative nosotros command form. Hablemos. Let's talk. But if I wanted to say let's talk to each other, I would need to add the reflexive pronoun. I changed se to nos because it's a nosotros command. I put nos at the end of the command, but then instead of saying hablemosnos, it's just hablémonos. It's much easier to pronounce that way. There's also one irregular nosotros command that you have to remember, but luckily it's pretty easy. The verb ir is vamos. And of course if you want to say irse, which is to leave, you can say vámonos. Now of course we have negative nosotros commands. Negative nosotros commands tell a group of people what not to do, and the speaker, the person giving the command, is in that same group. It's like the Spanish equivalent of let's not, and say we did. Here are some examples of affirmative and negative nosotros commands. Cepillemos el conejo means let's brush the bunny. No cepillemos el amigo is let's not brush the friend. To make cepillemos negative, all we had to do is put no in front of it. The second example is bailemos mañana, which means let's dance tomorrow. No bailemos ahora means let's not dance right now. All we had to do to make bailemos negative was to put a no in front of it. So here's how pronouns work with negative nosotros commands. As usual, you put the pronouns between the no and the command. Remember how I was talking about how reflexive pronouns are weird in affirmative nosotros commands? Well, with negative nosotros commands, the pronoun is a separate word, so you don't even have to worry about that. And finally, you need to remember that if you have two pronouns in the same command, you put the indirect object pronoun before the direct object pronoun. Down here I have some examples. No lo cepillemos is let's not brush him, being a bunny or a friend, who knows. No nos llamemos is let's not call each other. Notice how nos is its own separate word, so we don't have to worry about taking away any s's. And finally we have no nos lo digamos, which is let's not tell it to each other. It is probably a secret. The direct object The indirect object pronoun comes before the direct object pronoun lo.